Hi guys, I hope you're having an excellent day today. In this video, I'm going to be doing some love notes from your person. This is going to be a message cards only reading, and there are 3 groups to choose from. Group 1 is the Desert Rose. Group 2 is the Carnelian. And group 3 is the Bloodstone. So if you want to take a moment to center, focus on your breathing, and feel whichever group, maybe multiple groups or perhaps all of the groups that you're most drawn to. I'll give you a minute to make your selection and then we'll get right into it. And there are timestamps in the description box of the video for each group if you'd like to jump ahead. And up next is a close-up photo of the crystals to help you better make your selection. Hi, Group 1. You chose the Desert Rose. So let's see, what does your person want you to know right now from their higher self? Okay, so the first that we have is you are so different, but that's why I love you. So this is giving the energy of somebody that you might have been in no contact with for a while. Maybe life kind of took you both in other directions. This could have been somebody that you had a false start with, or there's, been some kind of falling out between the two of you, and you might have just assumed this person hasn't reached out, it's out of sight, out of mind, they're never coming back, they don't care about me, and it couldn't be further from the truth. It feels like this person is sort of like silently watching and kind of waiting for the opportunity to break the ice between the two of you, bring forth some kind of amends that may be owed, or trying to pick up where you left off, but to try and do better than they had done before. It's almost like in the time that you've been apart from one another, they've grown as an individual. They might have had to learn certain things the hard way in terms of anything or anybody that they had prioritized over you in the connection in the past, or even just fears of their feelings for you that could have motivated them to not fight for a connection or self-sabotage. There's a sense that things have come around full circle for them, and they've had like a series of aha moments or epiphanies that has encouraged them to kind of seek you out from afar, sort of like watch, energetically speaking, and they're witnessing within you almost something that is mirrored within them. They're seeing you from a new perspective, maybe through emotional growth or even circumstances of loss that they may have experienced that required them to kind of change their ways or, get out of their own way in some capacity. And so it's created a vision or a clarity for them where they're now able to appreciate things about you or what you brought to the table in the past that they weren't open or evolved enough as a consciousness to be able to value or to prioritize or to ensure that they were doing their best to like fight for that, to protect that, to kind of nurture that between the two of you. And it may even be something where they're kind of at the point now of sort of like, okay, maybe it was the right person but the wrong time in the past. Have we both evolved to the point where our odds of success are better now than they were yesterday, than they were back when we were dealing with one another, than they were previously, before things fell apart or before this person chose to walk away? So it's definitely like not out of sight, out of mind. They're very curious about you, very almost, there's like a stillness with this too, where this might have been somebody that just made assumptions about you or had a lot of pessimism toward love and romance, but they're holding space to kind of take you in and kind of understand you or make the effort to become more open-minded to who you are, who you've had to become through experiences with them and like other things in your life, where there's a level of respect that they have for you as a person that was like missing before, or they weren't kind of, they had no motivation to sort of acknowledge that or look at that as kind of an essential component, as a building block that could lead to a successful romance and partnership. Like it might have been something they were intimidated by or just didn't really value in the past, but they've come to value it now, like who you are as a person or who you've been working to become in the time since you've been apart from one another. We also have, I know a lot more than you think. So new information might have come to light about certain people that had interfered in the connection in the past, certain assumptions that they made, judgment calls that were made that caused them to kind of pick themselves in the interest of self-interest, to, you know, stay at a distance or, you know, create issues between the two of you, maybe there were none, or they just felt very ultimately hopeless in the past in terms of the long-term potential for something good between the two of you. And so there's been almost this element of like they've been proven wrong, like you've proven them wrong, or you've changed and evolved beyond the assumptions that they had or the expectations. If you've been in no contact or separation for a while, they expected to kind of seek you out and they expected to find one thing. They were like so certain that you were going to head down a particular road, or you were still going to be stuck in the same energy that they had left you in. Maybe this person even thought, hey, I'll just come back in as like the knight in shining armor in order to win back this person's trust or to get back in their good graces. And they've come to understand, like, you got tired of waiting for that salvation and you became the hero of your own story. Or how they see you now, maybe even through how they're seeing other people in their life, if like third parties, friends and family, or, you know, just people socially, or anything that they might have thought, hey, people are gonna judge this connection, people are gonna disapprove of this connection. I don't know how this relationship or you, the viewer, like that person fits in the reality of that I've chosen for myself, or the life that I've built. You could be like opposites attract almost, or something about you just doesn't fit into the narrative of what they've kind of been entrained to believe is like the ideal partner, or you know, ways that people can live their life that like equate success. Anything as far as that kind of the nature of that sort of programming is concerned, they've come to see that from a different perspective, that they were valuing the wrong things in the past. They were being influenced by people that maybe didn't even know or appreciate or understand like who they really are as a person. Like they felt a deep soul connection with you, but something about kind of the surface level, the circumstances or details in both of your lives, it feels like motivated this person in the past to think it's just going to be too hard to have success here. I better just take the easier route, the safe route, the assured route. Stick to the type of people that I know. Stick to, you know, circumstances that others in my life are just going to see it at face value and cheer that on, even if it's not deeply fulfilling for me on an emotional level. So they've cleared away a lot of what might have been sort of like people pleasing, or having to kind of perform as in a role or in a function for family, for friends, things professionally, socially, that in some way in the past that performance excluded the possibilities between the two of you, or they just assumed they couldn't have it both ways. They either had to keep their stability or take a risk and a chance on love with you in the past. And so they chose the safe and easy path, the safe and narrow path is sort of what they stuck with. And now there's a sense of like, I don't like the choice that I've made. I've come to see things for how they really are, or there's like an emptiness. They're like missing you, they're longing for you, and that's not been able to be filled with anything else. So they're now kind of, you know, skulking around sort of in the outskirts of your energy, checking in, you know, like looking at the social media profile, maybe even looking back over old memories that you share with one another, like text messages or you know, old photos of the two of you, and kind of sitting in this energy of nostalgia that has them very curious about sort of like the present moment and whatever they've sort of found about you, or who you've become despite everything you've been through with them, or other things in general. It's like you've taken them by surprise, and they're feeling maybe very ashamed for having misjudged you or made certain assumptions, or they're starting to really see you as somebody that did fit into the equation of success for them, but on the surface it looks different than what in the past they had just assumed that that would be. We also have, I regret walking away from you. Yeah, so this is the energy of like, if I could turn back the hands of time, I would have made a different decision. The people and things they prioritized over you in the past showed their true colors and proved to just either be obstacles in and of themselves, or maybe they were betrayed by those people, they were left behind by those people, they ended up having to walk away from those people and situations anyway. And it's the sense of at what cost, and what was the sacrifice for just staying aligned in a situation that was totally out of alignment with what my heart was telling me to do. So this is somebody that like ignored their intuition in the past, and they chose to prioritize the projections of other people, or the assumption of what would people think about this. That was far more important to them, or was more compelling to them in the past than like, but what do I think? What do I feel? What do I want? And so there's a lot of, how do I undo the damage that has been done? Is there even a chance for us to pick up the pieces and build again? There's a sense that whatever they've said or done, or they didn't say or didn't do, that like your trust has been shaken. There's a sense of like, I don't know if you'd ever trust me again, if you'd ever fully relax in my presence, if you could be really in the moment romantically with me, or if you'd always be waiting for the other shoe to drop because I let you down before, because I pushed you away, or I ran away, or I walked away. And so it feels like they're deeply troubled at this time. Do I just remain this kind of presence on the outskirts of this person's life, looking in, wishing things could be different, or do I have what it takes in order to start to take steps to prove, and then prove again, and then prove again, as much as is necessary, like as much reassurance as you will need or will allow this person to try and give you, if they are able to move beyond the silence and resume communications with you, or start that back up again. There's a sense of like, that choice also is very apparent for them. Like, can I go the distance this time? Because they see you as somebody like, if you'd give them a chance, you have raised your vibration so much, your life is so different, your priorities are different, you're operating in a different energy, that you might have settled for crumbs, or almost like an unhealed version of this person in the past. But there's a sense that you're a different person now. You've raised your standards, and so whatever they were offering before, there's a sense of them feeling like it's not good enough. You didn't ask for very much from them in the past, and they failed to give you all that they were capable of before. But now there's a sense of, it feels to be of a poor quality what they have to give at this particular point in time, because you've jumped timelines. You've taken like some kind of quantum leap, or multiple quantum leaps, where you're not the same person that they remember. And it's like you have become more luminous despite the pain and suffering that they've put you through, or that you've been through in your life, things that have happened in the time apart, or things that were a factor before that you've been healing, that you've been trying to deal with and sort of work through. It's almost like you have evolved, and it's bringing them this essence of, have I just stagnated? Did I just miss the opportunity for the best thing that could happen to me because of my resistance to change, or my unwillingness to like follow my heart or listen to my heart? And they also say, I'm planning to take action soon. So it feels like the idea of just remaining that spectator in the outskirts of your life, that fills them with a sense of dread. It's kind of like, all right, some sort of door has closed, or I've slammed it shut between the two of us, but then you went and changed the locks, and now my key doesn't work. Now I don't have any way to like get back into your life, into your reality. I don't have the ability to like easily just sort of claim my spot by your side, because I abdicated that throne in the past. I pushed you away. I abandoned you when you needed me. I betrayed your trust, whatever that looks like. And so there's a sense of, this almost might be somebody that it's kind of building up the courage just even to try to make amends. Something, where it's like, I don't expect you to respond. I don't expect you to do anything that would invite me into your life, but I need to let you know I was wrong. I need to let you know it wasn't you, it was me. I need to let you know I regret what has happened between the two of us, or what I've done to contribute to your pain and suffering. Like, I regret that. So it's almost somebody that like wishes they could come in closer, but they're not very hopeful at this point in time that anything they would say or do would truly reassure you in a way that you could ever get back to the level of trust and almost like blind faith that you had in them, or you had in this connection in the past before that illusion was shattered. And they say, I'm seeing through the illusion. So it's been a rude awakening for this person. It's something that might have been very humbling for them, in the sense that they could have operated in ego. They might have thought themselves to be, world weary and like a very wise person, and that they were operating in like high integrity and only surrounding themselves with like high value people. And if there's ever a problem, it was anybody else. It was never them. And it feels like in the time since you've been apart, there's been a lot that has crashed down. Things have been revealed about people they have had their allegiances with. It's a sense of almost like I was surrounded by the wrong people. I was just sort of mimicking the toxicity around me. There's an inclination in this person to like point the finger of blame, but at the end of the day, there's a part of them that's like, I have to take responsibility for my choices. Nobody forced me to not listen to my intuition and just follow the crowd. Nobody forced me to open up and begin something with you, and then I ditched you. I just left you there, awakened your heart, and then left you stranded in that energy of love all alone. Nobody made me create confusion and chaos for you. I did that of my own free will and volition. So they may have a hard time forgiving themselves at this point as well for any anguish, any uncertainty, any kind of emotional damage that they've caused to you that you've had to heal from, maybe that you're still struggling to heal from or move beyond completely. So there's a sense of like, this is a person with like a burdened conscience. This is a person that almost doesn't feel worthy of your love or your forgiveness, but there's something within them kind of compelling them, like, you have to make this right. You have to do something. You cannot just leave it this way. And so it feels like they're trying to sort of puzzle their way through how to go about this, how to create change and momentum forward for themselves, and perhaps for you, and the possibility of a connection too. They also say, I miss you. So this might be the energy of a lot of their friends have become identified by them as like false friends or frenemies, or people that just kind of like left them in their hour of need, or gave them like bad counsel, bad advice. And there's a sense of like, I should have listened to you. I should have followed my intuition, and I should have listened to what you were saying. Maybe certain people that you'd given them a heads up, like, I think they're sabotaging. I think they're, they don't have the best of intentions, or, they make me uncomfortable, or, just even people that might have sort of ganged up on you, might have, kind of been talking shit to this person and encouraging them to just sort of leave you and move beyond anything like that. There's a lot of regret at having prioritized those people's opinions. It feels like some of those people have turned around and just proved to have very almost malicious or malignant intentions, or they're just people that are not aligned with who this individual wants to become, or the type of life they're wanting to live. It's almost like they sacrificed the possibilities between the two of you to please other people, to please the masses in their life. And there's a sense of like, those opinions have just left me feeling empty. Those opinions of other people that I prioritized over our connection in the past have left me seeing that I just invested myself in cardboard when I could have had something of substance. with you, like with another person. So they may be feeling almost like a stranger within their own life, very lonely in their own life at this point. Even if they have a lot of people around, like an active social life and, a lot going on in that sense, there's a part of them that is almost like shut down. And the longer that you're away from one another, the more deafening that kind of silence becomes. Yeah, and they say maybe we're just too different. So it feels like they're replaying kind of like a pep talk that they had to give themselves, or maybe even people in their life that knew about the connection, didn't really approve of that for different reasons, or people that didn't know you at all, never met you, and just judged the circumstance at face value, that it encouraged this person to not continue to invest, keep their options open, look elsewhere, somebody better aligned, or that would match that kind of 3D profile of like what the perfect partnership should be, or the ideal partner, what the family would approve of, what the friend circle would approve of, what society would look at and say, oh yeah, that's a successful couple, they're leading a a very promising life with one another. All of that, it feels like, has come and smack this person in the face in terms of like, even if they went after another person, they replaced you or tried to replace you, they tried to date, they tried to move on into other relationships. There's a sense of, even those connections, as perfect as that might have looked from the surface level, there was something missing there. There was absence. The substance that they found with you has not been able to be replicated in any other circumstance. And so this is like a very hard pill for this person to swallow at this point, that they prioritized an illusion over the real thing, and now that illusion no longer feeds or fulfills them in the same way that it did. They also say, I'm sorry I couldn't do right by you. Yeah, so this is, again, somebody that is almost like not having their hopes up that you would ever be able to trust them, or that like reconnecting romantically in a long-term successful capacity, there's doubt that that's even possible now at this point. Too much time might have passed. You might have had, this person could have done such damage that you had to do a lot of healing emotionally, or who you've become as a person, they're almost like, what value do I add to that? I would only derail this person's peace, or what they've needed to do to evolve. Like they are now struggling to see, how do I fit into this person's world and reality, where in the past they had just sort of cast you aside and assumed, you don't fit in with the image I'm trying to present, or the people in my life don't approve of this, or potentially they wouldn't. And so it was just, they dismiss the possibilities here, and now they're finding themselves in that energy of being like out in the cold with no one to blame but themselves for putting themselves there. So even if there's like, they're not entirely hopeful that you'd take them back romantically, this is somebody, it feels like, that may be getting ready to at least send like a heartfelt apology, some kind of acknowledgement of what happened in the past, to at least give you peace. There's a sense of like, I have to give this person peace for what I've put them through. They're seeing you as somebody who's like cultivated your own peace, or you're attempting to do that, but there's a burden upon them that they feel like, I need to make this right somehow. They also say, I just have to do something else right now. Please try and understand. So they do acknowledge a lot of obstacles between the two of you, trust issues that now exist where they didn't before, the complications of third-party situations, anyone that's still in their life, or anyone that's kind of come, in between where they are in the present moment, what you had with one another, like anybody they've dated, or that they tossed you aside for in the past, or wanted to keep their options open and sort of passed up a good thing just to sort of see what else was out there. There's a sense of like them knowing, even if they come towards you with like, I don't expect you to reply, but I have to, to say my sorries, I have to make my amends, even if it's just very like a one-sided communication like that, there's an understanding that in the event that you would be willing to talk things out with them, or hear them out, or that it's not too little too late, they're like looking around at their life right now, and ways in which they need to kind of like lay down the law with certain people, cut certain people and influences out of their life, or set boundaries, or even the anticipation of like, to be prepared to do that. If you're able to rekindle something with one another, that some of those same characters may still be in their life, that disapproved of or kind of poison their heart towards you in this situation previously, that it's like, if we move forward with one another into something, these other people can't have such a central role or can't be in my life at all because they are not advocates of this connection. In the past, they proved that. Maybe even people they have in their life that still bring you up or badmouth you, and there's a sense of almost like they can't remain aligned and loyal to those people and expect to have a chance to build something with you. So there may be a process right now of sort of seeing everybody's true colors, rearranging the role certain people play in their life, like trying to prepare themselves to where if you're open to their communication, then it's not just empty promises of like, okay, I value you, now give me some time while I clear out these other connections that were oppositional to us before. Like they already need to have done that legwork, that groundwork, that preparation to a certain capacity before they approach you, so they can address it like, hey, these people were meddling in this situation. I don't have much to do with them, or I haven't talked to them in years, or they're no longer a part of my life. Something that brings evidence to you of not just sort of the empty promises to change, but something that demonstrates you're not the only one who's been evolving quietly and loudly, like during this time apart from one another. So let's get some initials. This could be a first, middle, or last name, or could spell something out, just whatever resonates for you. Got E, S, V, L, H, L, C, T, O, Q, D, I, M, W, U, C, A, and Z. So those are your messages. I hope that they resonated with you and that you enjoyed the reading. If you like the video, please give it a thumbs up, comment, subscribe, or share. If you'd like a personal reading, I offer those through my Etsy shop, and there's a link to that in the description box of the video. I offer a variety of pre-recorded video readings, written readings, and channeled letters. Turnaround time on everything is 5 to 7 days from the time of purchase. I hope to see you again in another reading. Please take care and be well. Hi, Group 2. Chose the Carnelian. So let's see, what does your person want you to know right now from their higher self? So the first one we have is, I know we are being spiritually guided. So with these energies, I'm hearing, I surrender. So this is somebody that is done fighting the intensity, not of their feelings, but of something that has kind of alerted them or awakened them to maybe start to explore the possibility of soulmates, soul connections. It's like what they feel for you, it goes far beyond just deep emotions, intense emotions, love and romance. There's almost something where they're starting to recognize certain signs and synchronicities, maybe things that have come through in like downloads or dreams or anything where they've had like a series of epiphanies or aha moments as far as you and this connection are concerned. Not just that it feels right to be with you in the moment, or, you know, the times where you're having exchanges with one another and it feels good, it feels loving, there's positive things going on, but there's something that almost is cluing them into your connection, the feelings that are brought up, who they are becoming as a person in your presence through the two of you, like getting to know one another, interacting with one another, having experiences with one another, that this is like where they were always supposed to be. There's a sense of, I never knew what home was until I experienced your energy. I didn't know that parts of myself were worthy to be seen and accepted and loved until those effortlessly came forth in your presence, and you didn't even bat an eye. You didn't judge me. You didn't ridicule. You didn't push me away. You might have had similar feelings or experiences or aspects within yourself, quirks or certain kind of like personality traits, or even wounds and aspects within the shadow that this person sees a lot of themselves within you, or a space of kind of like we fit together with one another, not where we enable and it's codependent, it's like a trauma bond, but in a sense of there's a space created for both of you to kind of come into this place of we're fine as our perfectly imperfect selves. And this may be something that it's like a new type of revelation for this person. Like, I didn't know love could feel this way. I didn't know a connection with another person could feel this way. They could be getting a lot of deja vu, or a sense of almost like, I know you from somewhere. It feels like this isn't the first time we've done this dance with one another. So they're looking towards like sacred aspects within this, maybe even at this point in time, thinking about this in terms of long potential, like exchanging vows with one another, getting married, honoring that long-term commitment and loyalty in a way that they have never been so moved to do with another person before. So they're seeing you as some kind of like heaven-sent blessing. You've come into their life not just to provide them with an experience of companionship, but it's almost like you're awakening deeper parts within them that they'd never experienced before. So for a lot of people, they are thinking about like, is this my soulmate? Not just, is this someone I can have a good time with, who kind of like fits in with the life I'm living now, but there's something where their attention is being drawn to, we are in one another's lives for a deeper reason. And while there may have been people like that in their past that gave them lessons, or, provided them with like hurt that they were then given the task to alchemize into determination or self-love, or kind of personal empowerment, or like the challenge to heal, or whatever it is that looks like or has looked like for them. It's a sense of almost like you might have been brought into their life to show them a different face of love, something more realistic and yet closer to unconditional, by way of like high vibration, something that's good for them, mind, body, and soul. And that, it feels like, is something they've never had with another person before. They never thought that that was possible, or even something to strive for, or to anticipate. And so there's a lot of curiosity, not just where are things going between the two of you, but like, what is your position in their life? What does that signify for like them as a person? And what's kind of the deeper level of fulfillment that's possible for you both going forward? They also say, the thought of explaining myself and apologizing scares me. I don't want to see the pain I've caused in your eyes. So this is actually bringing forth a very interesting energy of like, I've loved you since the moment that I saw you. This person may have almost deliberately tried to apply some sort of strategy, like, I'm not going to get too invested too quickly. I'm going to take things slow. They might have tried to, sort of run game in terms of like, okay, well, we texted back and forth, and so now I'm going to wait 48 hours before I reach out again. We just hung out with one another, so I have to let a couple days go by in order to make this person miss me and appreciate me, and then I'll pop back up in the reality. Things where they might have very consciously tried to sort of control the pace of how things were unfolding, or the possibilities between the two of you. There's a sense of feeling that may have you might not have even been bothered by that. That may have just been like, yeah, that's the dating world nowadays. That's just how people are. Like you're not doing anything very manipulative. It's just you're being like a modern person. But there's some part of this individual, like this soul knowing, that feels even that is a betrayal of sorts, because there's a sense of like, if we were different people, if this were another time, if this were a different place, if a different kind of society or a different kind of world, then very immediately when I first laid eyes on you, something clicked, something awakened within me, something might have even sort of nudged this person to consider like, hey, this is the one, this is who you've been searching for, this is your mirror, this is your mate, this is your match. And there's a sense of almost like the protocol within the material world of like boy meets girl, girl meets boy, you know, you start to get to know one another and date and kind of build in that sense, that those modern kind of constraints are a departure from the certainty that they have within, that like, I loved you from the moment that I saw you. I've always loved you. I've come forth into this incarnation simply to find you and love you. That's one of my purposes fulfilled. Here you are and here I am, so mission accomplished in that sense. And there may be a struggle with kind of this person being tasked at this point to explore those deeper implications. Okay, you feel that way? What does that mean? What does the term soulmate mean to you? What does the idea of past lives mean to you? This is somebody who's like expanding their spiritual knowledge, maybe going through like an ascension, or they've experienced some kind of like spiritual awakening, like awakened by your presence, awakened by this connection. Awakened from the moment they first cross paths with you. And so there's a sense of like an apology that almost, if they were to say any of that to you, if they could articulate that, you'd laugh. It might be something that you'd think would be very sweet, very endearing, like, oh, how romantic. But there's like a seriousness within this person that the modern dating world is like a structure or certain protocols that are not in keeping with the sense of urgency within them. Like you feel right, you feel like the one. Let's get through these formalities because I want to get to the business of loving you with my whole self. And I'm sorry that it's taking so long to do that, or to get to that place, that like rite of passage where like, okay, now we can take things to the next level. Now it's okay to express these things. Now I have a grip on kind of what that means, or how to speak those words out loud. And so now I'm giving you that with my whole heart, with my whole soul. Yeah, and they say I'm a better person because of you. You've really changed me. So although they may be very like challenged to sort of define their feelings, or there's a lot of curiosity towards like the idea of destined lovers, you know, star-crossed lovers, that finally the stars have aligned and this is your moment in the here and now. Despite that is causing them to have to learn more things or evolve on some kind of emotional level, or things that are just happening energetically within them that align with that idea of like, you know, you've awakened this person's heart, not just to love again, but like a deeper spiritually based love, something that is like ordained by God or has been brought into their life specifically because it aligns with some, almost like an aspect of a version of me fully comes on board when I'm with your presence. And this person's like whole on their own. You're whole on your own. So it's not like you're completing one another, but they really see you as somebody that truly brings out the best in them. You bring out this enhanced version of them. You give them courage to ask questions about things they might have been fearful to ask before, to look at themselves in a light that they had not been able to see themselves within until they saw themselves reflected in your eyes. So this energy of like, you're the best thing that ever happened to me, and I'm motivated to continue to be the best thing that ever happened to you in whatever ways that I can. They also say, I feel your love around me constantly. Yeah, so they may be getting, again, like a lot of signs, a lot of synchronicities, feeling your energy, a lot going on in like the dream space and the astral realm. This person could like dream of you and then they wake up and it feels like you're right next to them. They could be alone in bed, but it feels like they're there with you. There's a sense of this person really wanting to close the gap between the two of you in terms of like, they want to continue to get to know you, continue to build beautiful memories and experiences experiences with one another. They want to continue to insert themselves in the here and now and not let, you know, fear of heartbreak or past wounding. There's almost a sense of like, I'm not going to let that sabotage what we have. You feel too unique, too special, too important of a person to me for me to gamble with our future by letting doubts topple over what feels so certain inside. And that certainty is that you're their person, you're the one they want to be with. You, out of all the people they know or that they've had experiences with up to this point in time, you bring forth not just fulfillment in like a status quo kind of way, but you bring forth the adventure or the challenge of like stepping into or building a higher level love with a like-minded and vibrationally compatible individual in the here and now. It's like building heaven on earth when they think of you and think about the future. It's like the idea of we don't need to wait for paradise. We don't need to go seek that Eden elsewhere or outside of the context of this beautiful love, this beautiful connection, this beautiful vibration that we are cultivating with one another. They also say, I come to you in the 5D. Yeah, so this person, again, could be like dreaming about you a lot. They may be meditating, like starting a meditational practice, or maybe they've had one and are kind of like directing their consciousness very deliberately towards, I want to connect with your higher self. I want to connect with you energetically. I wake up and I feel your presence around me. I'm creating communication with that presence. While there's still so much unspoken between us in the 3D realm, or, you know, we're still getting to that point of like total disclosure with one another, I'm not just going to sit idle. In the meantime, I'm going to reach out to you energetically. I'm going to include you in my daily prayers. I'm going to send you that love from afar. They may even be researching things like astral travel and, again, like soulmate, soul tie, soul connection. It feels like this person's gone down the rabbit hole or several rabbit holes as far as concepts that never resonated with previous love connections, or that had just not been part of their wheelhouse, part of their awareness, part of their worldview prior to encountering you. So this is somebody who definitely recognizes not just you feel right or you fit in with the idea of kind of what happily ever after would look like in a mundane sense, but you feel right to my spirit, like you put this person's spirit into a peaceful and empowered place. Yeah, and they also say we see each other in dreams. So again, a lot happening within that dream space. They see you as somebody that is a co-creative energy. They may already consider that you're both co-creating your future with one another. You're manifesting that future. You both want the same thing. The vibe is right. Things that you might have shared or things you have going on in your life right now, it's almost they're seeing the reflection of that, either in terms of their own interests, their own drives, their own desires, or things that they have going on where there just keep being more reasons to check off the, you know, positive column of attributes as far as getting to know you. Like, yeah, you in all way, shape, and form, you're a walking green light. You're somebody that fits in with that bigger vision. You're good for me. I feel good in your presence. I don't have to sell myself out or hide parts of myself. I don't have to give myself away or make unnecessary sacrifices in order for there to be compatibility between the two of us. Like, there's challenges. You're both individuals, but it aligns. You work well with one another already. The communication's good. There's a sense of them becoming very motivated to make that better, to do what they can to facilitate that between the two of you. But it's like you're a walking dream. You come out of that dream space into their reality, and there's a sense of like, what do I need to do in order to keep you in my life? What do I need to do in order to move this connection forward? They also say the grass wasn't greener on the other side, so they've never met anyone like you. They only have eyes for you. They're not interested in keeping their options open or looking around for what they want, what they need. It's like, you're everything that I need. I've found what I want. It's you. You're right in front of me. It's here and now. We are where we are within our story, but this is not the end of the road. We're still building. We're still getting to know one another. We're still progressing forward. And they also say you're the only person who truly gets me. So you might have passed some tests with this person recently that you didn't even know were happening. This person may value loyalty because they've been betrayed profoundly in their past, and you've provided them with some sort of reassurance through who you are, the nature of your interactions, maybe even some kind of grace or understanding that you've given to them if they've, again, like tried to sort of control the pace of how things have unfolded, or times where they've become like triggered and overwhelmed and their energy might have changed up, or, you know, things that they couldn't necessarily explain, but just the vibe was off. And there's a sense of you allowed this person to course correct and to meet you at that place of certainty without badgering them, without giving them ultimatums, while prioritizing yourself, but still honoring their privacy, or kind of like where they were at as an individual. And this has helped them to see, like, you're somebody who my heart is safe with. You're somebody who my life is safe with. You're somebody who my dreams are safe with, because you're not just showing me all of these beautiful qualities about you when things are going your way, or everything is smooth sailing between the two of us, but you've really held it down during turbulence. You've held it down when I've been uncertain and I've needed to like retreat within. You've allowed me that time and space to make that decision, to keep choosing you, to keep choosing this situation, rather than pressuring me to do that. So you've won over almost a very pessimistic part of this person that might have just been like, I've had bad experiences in the past, I'll never let anyone in that close again, not that close to hurt me. And there's a sense that effortlessly you've kind of breached those walls. You've helped this person to let their guard down, and they're starting to shed a bit of like the woe is me attitude, or something where kind of like how they were showing up in romance, or were anticipating the idea of romance for their future, that was somehow judged based on the lens of things that had fallen apart in the past. And the experience with you is helping this person to kind of anchor themselves in the present moment, and not let so much of those past hurts and past mistakes with other people kind of interfere with what you have in the here and now with one another. Yeah, and they also say, I'm sorry I held myself back with you. So there is a conscious acknowledgement on their part of them on some kind of like trying to run game on you, but not in a way of like, oh, let me just manipulate you and not show you who I really am, and until you're in too deep and then it's too late, and you know, then it just becomes messy. But it's a sense of almost like this person perhaps feeling like I have to protect my heart, or I can't make the same mistakes I made in the past, or it's just like modern times, modern dating. I couldn't go up to somebody and expect to be taken seriously if I'm telling them it's love at first sight. I loved you from the first moment I saw you or I met you, you know, and so they've had to kind of do certain things to like, okay, let's try to build this like an ordinary couple would. Let me just try to pretend that I'm not already head over heels in love with you, and create that space where love could grow in like an ordinary sense. And it's a sense of almost like that effort that they put in might have created that space for like this spiritual awakening, the sense of like, okay, now I've created this space and I'm able to perceive into the deeper layers here, the sense that there's like a spiritual implication between us. I'm considering that you might be my soulmate. There's past life overtones here. There's something deep and meaningful about the versions of ourselves that come to the surface the more we interact with one another, and the more we allow one another to kind of participate in our own lives and our own journeys while still co-creating with one another. So let's get some initials. This could be a first, middle, or last name, or could spell something out, just whatever resonates for you. Got G, O, Z, R, W, B, T, D, N, S, C, U, Q, I, and A. So those are your messages. I hope that they resonated with you and that you enjoyed the reading. If you like the video, please give it a thumbs up, comment, subscribe, or share. If you'd like a personal reading, I offer those through my Etsy shop, and there's a link to that in the description box of the video. I offer a variety of pre-recorded video readings, written readings, and channeled letters. Turnaround time on everything is 5 to 7 days from the time of purchase. I hope to see you again in another reading. Please take care and be well. Hi, Group 3. You chose the Bloodstone. So let's see, what does your person want you to know right now from their higher self? So we have, don't think because we don't talk that I don't want you because I do. So it feels like this person who might have gone silent on you recently, kind of abruptly pulled back their energy. Maybe they've been making up some excuses, like they're busy, or you've just had a hard time connecting with one another. They're processing a recent interaction with you, and it's almost the energy of like, you seem too good to be true, or they've buckled under the weight of some kind of fear of getting it wrong. And I'm hearing again. So this could be somebody that, like, if they were married before, or married a couple of times, or, you know, maybe had a fiance and things fell apart, or like long-term connections that they just figured that's my forever person, and then things fell apart, or the rug was pulled out from under them. There's a sense of almost like they may be approaching with caution all matters of the heart, since they've had to walk away from things in their past, or since things have been taken from them in their past. And so there's a sense of, you're presenting as like a green flag, you're a green light. Everything is above board. Everything is matching up in terms of it feels right when they're with you. You know, there's no sneakiness. There's no kind of like weird vibes or anything that harkens back to, in retrospect, things that they may have looked at with previous connections, like, I should have seen that coming. I should have seen that as a sign that it was doomed to failure, and I chose to proceed, or I chose to stick around, or I fought for a connection only to find out later I was the only one fighting for that. So they may have had like a whole list of requirements of what they never wanted to experience again in a partnership that they brought with them to the table when they met you. And so far it's like, okay, yeah, you're genuinely proving to be different from all of my exes in the best possible way. Nothing about you signals that this is a situation of peril, or I'm just going to get my heart broken again, or my life's going to get flipped upside down again, or, you know, I'm going to be left with the sense of, how did I get fooled? I should have seen that coming. Like, you're giving that opposite impression of it feels safe, it feels reassuring, it feels right, and yet that wound within them is like so hesitant to trust. There's a sense that your love, or the experience of like even just spending time with you, it heals this person. There's a sense of like, they don't feel such heaviness inside. They are able to kind of look at the glass as half full rather than half empty. And that may be very alarming for their trauma, like what they've needed to do to cope, what they've needed to do to move on from heartbreak in the past. And it's a sense of like, okay, that survival mode, that's not the place where love thrives. But am I ready to take down these walls, take off this armor, let you in entirely? Because there's always the risk that we could fail. But if I don't take that chance, then I'm not seizing the moment and taking a risk in the direction that this could be the successful connection. This could be the one that explains all those failures, because it's so good in the complete opposite way of how everything in the past turned out to be bad. They say, I've thought about living together. So even though they've kind of given you maybe some sort of indication of like, okay, they're hesitating, or they've closed off, or, they're just not really interested in talking or exchanging with you at this point in time, behind the scenes, they are trying to almost reassure themselves that all is well. It's almost like they're trying to reparent maybe even their inner child, some kind of abandonment wound. Like, I don't want to open my heart up. I don't want to fall in love. I don't want to build a life with you and then it's all washed away. I don't want you to wake up one day and decide you don't want me anymore. You don't love me anymore. Or you never did. You were just using me. Like, the worst case scenarios, they're trying not to let that completely derail what you have with one another, but there's a sense that they're almost like stuck within this place, this valley inside of themselves that just can't let them be content in the moment. But they're consciously aware of that in some way, almost like, I'm getting in my own way. What am I so afraid of with this person? Why is it feeling right and I'm putting on the brakes? Why is it feeling right and I'm pulling my energy away instead of just trusting and being very reassured in the moment? So there may be a lot of overthinking, like the communication might have sort of slowed down or been cut off between the two of you, like paused almost, because it doesn't feel like a total no contact. It may be just somebody who's kind of avoiding you. Like, they were enthusiastic, they were checking in, and now it's like, oh, I've got work, or I'm not feeling well, or, I just like need some time, or they just kind of dropped off as far as that communication is concerned. But all the while, it's like they're in their head about all of this. They know that this behavior is kind of like, it's opening the door for misunderstandings. It's something where if you've been patient with that, or you haven't really, you've been just unbothered, you're sort of detaching from an inclination to worry or to overthink, this person's doing all that worrying and overthinking for the two of you. Sort of like, this doesn't build trust and confidence. I'm wanting trust and confidence, and yet my actions are not creating that for another person. There's a sense of urgency with this, like feeling they need to overcome the hurdle of whatever's been triggered recently, and just really will themselves to be in the moment of like, this feels right, this feels good, this feels safe, this person is different from every person before that has hurt me, that's betrayed me, that's used me, that's left me. So what am I so afraid of? Yeah, and they say, I act happy, but I'm not. So anything they may have told you in terms of like, oh, I'm busy, I got these other commitments, I'm working on things, I don't have time to talk right now. There's legitimacy to that, but they're also using that as like a buffer or an excuse, to where your instincts might have told you that, kind of like, okay, they're not necessarily breaking up with me, but they're obviously taking a step back from this connection, and I'm just going to let it ride. I'm just going to see how this plays out. Whatever you're doing in this capacity is definitely providing them with the reassurance that they need to drop the mask, drop this illusion that they've created that whatever's happening right now has them backed so far in a corner that they can't be as consistent with their interactions or their communications with you as they have previously. Like, the only thing really holding them back is this fear, is this trigger. I feel myself falling in love with you. I could see myself building a life with you. But in order to step into that timeline, in order to embody that, in order to manifest that, I can't also be bringing the fear of being hurt. I can't also be bringing in where I'm constantly comparing everything that happens with, how does this match up to the worst days of my life I experienced with romantic partners in the past. Like, there can't be that comparison. And so it's like they're trying to sort of ease themselves out of almost a place where they've been like thrust into some sort of survival mode, like a fight or flight response has been activated, and they've kind of like run almost energetically from you in the situation. And there's a sense of frustration with them, like, I wish I could communicate this. I wish I could explain to you, like, everything feels right, and it scares the shit out of me. Everything feels good, and yet I struggle to maintain and hold the belief that it's real, that you really are this person who really is presenting me like a second chance or a third chance or just a new opportunity altogether to rise above the mistakes of the past in love, to rewrite the story of love into a better direction. Yeah, and they also say, I'm so scared you may turn me down. But there's a sense of almost like, I don't want to let you down and I don't want you to let me down. So it's almost like they're having a hard time just being very in the moment and expecting good things out of you and out of this situation. And there's a sense that they are owning that for themselves. Like, it's nothing that you've done wrong. This is some reflex within them to like push away people who get too close. So this is somebody who's battling their demons right now. They're definitely sitting within that wounded space that their logical self is actually your best friend in this situation. The heart is scared to be hurt again, but the mind is telling them like, that's erroneous. That's foolish. There's no basis to think that will happen with this person. Whatever those horrible experiences or shameful experiences, or even like a version of them that had come to the surface, toxicity that was kind of matched by previous partners, or maybe they were the culprit in creating heartbreak for someone else, and that's made them feel unworthy of someone's heart being entrusted to them again. That can be another element of this, where they're kind of like pushing away, or they've sort of retreated in themselves. Like, I don't want to hurt you. I don't want to disappoint you. I don't want to get your hopes up and then let you down. So it can go like many different ways. It's almost like the logical mind is sort of twisting and turning around all the things that they're afraid of, the worst case scenarios, the factual realities of what's happened in the past. And that logical mind keeps pushing them to the edge of like, take that leap of faith. Listen to your heart. Not the wounded part that's scared, but the part which senses genuine connection with this other person. Trust in the power of new beginnings. Don't feed life into that self-fulfilling prophecy from yesterday and miss the opportunity to experience something very redemptive, that no matter how horrible they've been to other people before, no matter who's done them wrong, done them dirty, that it's like there's still the opportunity for a love that empowers. There's still the opportunity for a relationship which creates healing and blessings rather than circumstances that need to be healed from, or like a silver linings need to be found out of like shitty circumstances. Like there's so much within them that is like pushing them to fight for this, to fight through that fear, and seize this opportunity with you in the here and now to continue to build in a very beautiful direction with one another. They also say, I feel like I'm obsessing over you. So there's that confirmation of like, they're overthinking. They may be silent, they're withholding communication from you, but there's so much going on at this time mentally with this person of like, I'm afraid to say the wrong thing. I'm afraid to do the wrong thing. I'm afraid that maybe I'm misreading the signs, or that someday, you'll decide that you're better off with someone else. It's all the woulda, coulda, shouldas. This is a sense of somebody who doesn't want to repeat their past, and so they may also be really hard on themselves at this point in terms of anything they did in the past that was like low character, was sort of like shady or toxic or low vibrational, because everybody's human. Everybody's had their like horrible days, versions of themselves that they're like, I'm not proud of who I was then, but I'm not that person today. And so they're trying very hard to kind of hold the hand of who they are in the here and now, who they are in your presence, and to not fall into a trap of identifying themselves with the version of them that couldn't show up for someone else, the version of them that allowed someone into their life that only hurt or betrayed them, the version of themselves that was wounded and therefore created wounding within other people. Like you may have experienced this person as kind of like, they could have turned over a new leaf in certain ways in their life, or like this love connection represents fully embodying that, like a decision to kind of like, I'm going to be better. I'm going to show up for people better. I've learned my lesson. I've taken my licks. I've been the villain in other people's stories, and other people have been the villain in mine. But with you in the situation, in the here and now, it's like none of that even matters. And so again, the logical mind is your best friend in this circumstance, because their logical mind knows you're a good person. This is a good thing. Like, don't let this slip through their fingers. And it's that heart space that is almost very terrified to open up and receive the fullness of the love that you have to offer, and to give the fullness of the love that they hold inside, because there's a deep fear of like, what if it's not enough, or what if it's taken away someday? They also say, I'm planning to take action soon. So it feels like, again, the logical mind that is like fighting beyond this sort of like they've pushed you away, or they've leaned into the energy of fear. You know, they're being very harsh with themselves, very serious with themselves. Like, don't let this opportunity pass you by. If you wait too long, it's going to be too little too late. If you wait too long, then that fear has created a stronghold, almost as like a third energy between the two of you. And so there's a part of them that knows this is a challenge. This is a way for them to kind of fight for the connection at this point, by fighting through the urge to just expect the worst in this situation. So they're trying to almost reframe that thinking to expect the best out of this circumstance. Yeah, and they say, I'm still haunted by my actions. So they're thinking not just about kind of what's happened between the two of you, but this is somebody who's really thinking about like, how did I show up as not the best version of me in circumstances in my past? And what can I do to ensure that that version, that guy, that girl doesn't intrude here, that persona knows that it's not invited to this table of what I'm creating, what I'm experiencing with this person in the here and now. They're really trying not to judge themselves by like the worst thing that they've ever done to another person in a romantic connection, and also trying not to sort of judge the potential between the two of you based on kind of the litmus test of the worst thing that someone had ever done to them as far as love. So they see you as not just a chance for like a new kind of romance, but in some sort of way continuing to push through the fears and do what they can, and even kind of step beyond that threshold that it silences or puts to rest some kind of like haunted energy within, the guilt and the shame they carry for like past mistakes, or for letting past people that could have been even walking red flags, or people that caught them completely off guard, anybody that they let into their life previously that left them worse for wear. It's like getting rid of that hurt and pain, or the need or compulsion to identify so strongly with that, because they see there's no place for that in the connection and in what you have with one another in the here and now. Yeah, and they say, I feel safer in the silence. So again, this is just kind of a temporary pause. This is somebody who's lost in their own thoughts, trying to kind of provide themselves with some sort of reassurance that a part of them knows that they're not going to be totally reassured that like all is well between the two of you, or that it's fully safe in the connection, until some sort of like time has gone by and it's like, yeah, you're still here. Yeah, we have our ups and downs, but we're still fighting for this love. Yes, we challenge each other, but we also encourage one another and support one another. Like time in and of itself, it feels like, is something that they're reaching for. Like, I want to create more time with you. I want more between the two of us, because it helps me to silence those parts of me that feel unworthy of love, that expect kind of negative things as far as romance. You're showing me an opposite experience. And so the more they're having to confront that aspect in self that doubts, the more they're able to kind of like show up or motivate themselves to break this silence. And maybe if they can't even open up about these feelings or these fears, to at least continue to be present in a way that is not so avoidant, or not so, just expecting like the other shoe to drop between the two of you. They also say, I should have been more honest with you about how I was feeling at the time. So they do regret kind of like making up excuses, or, sort of taking more time to themselves than was really necessary. There's a part of them that is almost like, okay, you had that space, but if you linger in this energy for too long, it's just the coward's route. It's almost the sense of this person sees that to love is an act of bravery. And so they're really trying to encourage themselves to do the heroic thing, which is to vanquish those fears within, kind of exorcise those demons inside of themselves that expect the worst, or just assume like I've broken hearts in the past, so that's all I am, is a heartbreaker. That you mirror or show this person a different side of themselves. They're showing up differently in love for you than they have for others, or there's an opportunity to kind of do right with you in the ways that they failed to do right by people in their past. Lessons that they had to learn. Here's an opportunity to put their money where their mouth is, or take all of that kind of suffering and regret and in real time show someone else a different kind of experience than either other people had shown them in the past or they themselves had shown other people in the past. So let's get some initials. This could be a first, middle, or last name, or could spell something out, just whatever resonates for you. Got B, U, P, T, M, C, W, Z, G, V, P, N, S, B, I, F, L, G, X, W, and J. So those are your messages. I hope that they resonated with you and that you enjoyed the reading. If you liked the video, please give it a thumbs up, comment, subscribe, or share. If you'd like a personal reading, I offer those through my Etsy shop, and there's a link to that in the description box of the video. I offer a variety of pre-recorded video readings, written readings, and channeled letters. Turnaround time on everything is 5 to 7 days from the time of purchase. I hope to see you again in another reading. Please take care and be well.